Hi, everybody. I'm Judy Garcia. I am a career counselor in the Career Center, and I'm the career counselor contact for the College of Humanities and the Arts, also for the College of Science. So anyway, nice to be here, and welcome to all of you wherever you are. So what I want to do is what I'm doing for a number of my workshops this semester is the first thing I want to do is have you guys take a good look at our new website. So we just updated it this semester, and let's see, am I on? Is everything? There we go. Sugar, thank you. All right, so this is our Career Center website, and it's a little more active than we used to have. So a couple things I want to just point out is, so the first thing I'm showing is our events. So as you can see here, we have this nice drop down with our different career-focused events coming up. So today is still the 14th of March. So we had as you can see, we had a Lockheed Martin career trek today, and so now we get into tomorrow, the 15th, and I'm going to click this. So do I do it from the screen or from here? Oh no, no, I can't. Make sure I'm getting this.
Just wherever you see the mouse.
I'm looking at the computer and
it should be working the same.
It's different.
Could I? Sorry.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Okay, it should be good now. Oh, because the mouse is moved between the screens.
Right. Okay, all right. Yeah, I'll do it this way. So what I want to show you is just what you can see coming up for us. So if you scroll down, we have a number of events. A couple things I definitely want to highlight is, coming up is, first of all, on March 20th, we do this every spring. We have a workshop called Careers in Tech for Non-Tech Majors. We do this because we have so many students that want to work in a tech company and industry, and they think they have to be an engineer or have a computer science background. But as everybody knows, people that work in these companies support all those staff too. So you have people in operations and human resources and finance and all of those areas. So we have this event for that reason, and we have a few alumni that will be talking as well. And then what I want to do is I'm going to...
And you said that's a virtual session. Does that mean that people will just connect to it online?
Yes, it is virtual. That's correct. Yeah, and it is on, and everything we do is on Handshake. So I wanted to mention that as well. And then another event that we're highlighting is Explore Careers at the City of San Jose. We did this last year for really the first time, definitely since the pandemic. It is in person in the Rotunda, City Hall, and all of the departments that are potentially hiring, that are looking to hire, they're looking for both interns and to hire, will be there. And if you've never been or looked at the City of San Jose website, there are a lot of departments. It's government, but it's everything. And the way they publicize it is like A to Z. So from the airport to the zoo is how they call it. And so that's on the 27th of March. And so I just wanted to kind of mention that. And we have a few others. And then the other thing I definitely don't want to miss, and hopefully it's on here, is that I am coordinating right now an Exploring Careers in Design alumni panel. And I have been doing these panels every semester for a while. We usually kind of vary the H&A, the program, so to speak. So this time around, we decided on design. So this is going to be April 17th. It will be virtual from 5 to 6 p.m. You can register on Handshake. And what I'm putting together is I have a panel of, I'll probably have 4 to 5 people, graduates, all alumni from here, and with degrees in design studies, animation, graphic design, interior design, industrial design. So all the areas. And I am really looking forward to this because we have a pretty wide reach in terms of our alumni. We have for a very long time. And all these folks are working, but what I think surprises students is what they're doing with that degree, and it may not be what you think. Looking forward to that as well. So that will be, coming up in about a month. So with that, I'm gonna back out of there and go back to our page. Then the next section I want to highlight for you is, you see on the far left side is our student drop-down list. So if you look down here, so the career fairs and events, I just kind of went over some of that. Again, that's all of our webinars, any career-focused events, all here. So check out Handshake and check out our drop-down menu. For career counseling, most of you know we're on Spartan Connect. So if you are a design or art major, my name is probably there as your career counselor. So you can get a hold of me. Our appointments are 30 minutes. And when you decide to make an appointment with us, either virtual or in person, we ask you to choose what area you want to talk about, your resume or LinkedIn or whatever. And we'll talk about that. But with 30 minutes, we usually have enough time to talk about some other things that might be on your mind. So take advantage of that. And then what I want to do is I'm going to go ahead and just go right into our career guides section. And so we have different guides we've had for a while. And the one I'm really going to focus on this evening is the resume guide. So I'm going to just kind of take you for a kind of a walk through it, and we are going to talk about resumes as we go. And so with that, I'm going to go to that document, and all of you can see it. And so I'm going to kind of just take you down here and show you. So our resume guide is pretty short, but we cover all the really important points on creating a resume. So some of you may already know this, but I want to really talk about the importance of having a resume that is customized as best as possible to the job, the internship or job you're applying for. So that's the first thing that we recommend is, as you're getting ready to write your resume or update it, look at each job that you want to apply to and very carefully look at the qualifications the employer is looking for. That's really important. So don't just send the same resume for every job. I know there are probably students that do that. But what you want to do is, like it says, analyze the job description. Look very carefully, because you are not the only applicant. There are many applicants applying for these jobs, and you want to try to stand out as best as possible. So with that, I'm going to go down and just really kind of break down a resume for you. So the format we're using, first of all, is just left to right across the page. There are no columns. There are no italics or scripting or lines, any kind of underlines. It's very straightforward. And the main reason our resumes look like this is because we know that most companies, definitely mid to large size companies, use applicant tracking software to scan your resume. So this format is important because when you apply for a job, your resume probably is going to be scanned, and you want to make sure you want your resume to get through the scan. And because what you're trying to do is you're trying to get an interview. That's the whole point of this. So when I see resumes that have a couple columns and some other things, and students are wondering why they're not hearing from an employer, that may be why. So we recommend it look something, what you see here. So to kind of break it down, starting at the top, the heading would be just your name. And then just your city and state is all you need, no street address. I still see that sometimes. That's not necessary. Your email, we actually recommend you use your personal email and not your SJSU one, primarily because you guys get so many emails on SJSU. And if you are actively looking for work, you don't want to miss those emails. And so use your personal one, your cell, of course, and then LinkedIn. So we recommend you put your LinkedIn URL up there as well. And I know students are at different points in how well their LinkedIn is put together. I know students that, usually say to me, I have one, but I haven't really worked on it in a while, and others are very active. But LinkedIn really goes hand in hand with your resume. And the real deal is most employers use LinkedIn, have a LinkedIn profile. Their company probably has a LinkedIn page. So we definitely recommend that you also have your LinkedIn URL on your resume, but make sure your LinkedIn profile is complete as possible, not halfway done or anything, because you want to, stand out. All right, so as I work my way down here, the first section, we'll say this is optional, would be an objective. And what our advice is on this is, if you are going to put an objective at the top of your page, just put the title of the position you're applying for and the company or the organization, and that's it. You don't need to put any explanation of any kind. This is a little more wordy than need be, but all you really need is the exact title of the internship or job and then the company, and that's all you really need there. So if you decide not to put an objective, which is fine, we recommend that really the first section be education. So I see a lot of resumes where education is at the bottom of the page. Well, for all of you, you guys are all students here, so that's your goal right now. That's the main thing. So we would start with education and your current degree, the bachelor's you're working on right now. Like you see it, you just put your the degree you're working on right now. If you have a minor, you can just put it right next to it like you see here. All you need is your expected graduation date, so whatever that is. So you do not need to put your start date here. If you are especially looking for an internship or job, you're probably on closer to graduation than at the beginning of your studies. So we just recommend you just put your expected end date, and that's all you really need to put on there. We put San Jose State underneath that. As you can see, you see a GPA on here. GPA is optional, and pretty much, I think it depends on the employer. Some employers do have a GPA requirement, but most of them don't. And I've really noticed over the last 2 or 3 years, I'm not seeing that as much, and I'm actually very glad about that. So I just tell students, if you see a GPA requirement, put it on your resume, but if you don't even worry about it. Then another section that I find a lot of students aren't aware of is what we call relevant coursework. So what we recommend you do here is highlight your upper division, your core classes only over your last couple years. And I would add any other courses that you feel are relevant to the work you're looking for. So if it's not in your major, like you see, this is an example of an English, a bachelor's in English, but let's say you take classes in advertising or marketing or all these different areas. Put them on here.
Would you, like if you have upper division courses in a minor that seem to be really appropriate?
Yes.
That would be a good place to
That's a perfect place, because you really don't get to have your minor stand out all that much, but this allows you to do that, and especially in terms of the kind of work you're looking for. That's what you're trying to do. For anyone who, if any of you are transfer students, you have an AA or AS degree, you would put that underneath this section. So you would just skip a space and put your 2-year degree, again, your graduation date, and your community college, if that applies to you. If you have a associates for transfer, that's not the same thing, then you actually do not need to put that on your resume. But if you actually do have a degree, yes, put it on there. This next section, very briefly, is certifications. So if any of you have you've taken other online learning, we have an example here with LinkedIn Learning, but let's say you've taken classes on Coursera or any other areas, add it. By all means, put it on your resume as well. Okay, then I'm going to switch this up a little bit. But my advice going forward is the next section really under education really should be skills. And I really emphasize this because employers are more and more locked into your skills, even more than your education. And it really does not belong at the bottom of the page. So I would just take this section and move it up under education. And a couple things I want to highlight here. The computer skills or your technology is really going to be what you're focusing on. And you can just list everything across the page like you see it here. And, you know, just get everything on there. Ideally, you have the skills that the employer wants. That's what you're hoping, you know, that's what you're looking for. But I would add any other technology, you know, because you never know who's looking at it and where it might, you know, the employer may not be asking for it, but that might be very helpful. So just list everything like you see it here. If you are bilingual, this also goes into the skills section, so you just put your languages there. And that's really about it. So my advice is I would just move this section above, higher up on the page, under education, and then we go into experience. So what I want to highlight here is, and this is our advice in the Career Center, we actually recommend that students have two sections, two experience sections. One is project experience and the other is work experience. The project experience one is important because this is going to focus on your semester projects, part of your major, your focus there. And the reason I really mention this is because this may be all the experience you have. And that's really the case for most students. So for project experience, what we recommend you do is start with your most recent project. It could even be a current project you might be working on this spring. Put a title, and then you can just put SJSU or whatever the affiliation of the project is. It might not be SJSU. You might be doing the project, you know, with other, or you know, with your student club or any other, you know, outside entity, right?
You might be making a game development club.
Exactly, exactly. So how this works is, again, just the title, the affiliation. You can just put the semester if you want. You don't need to put dates. So you would just put spring or fall. And you're going to put your most recent project. So if it's current, it'll be spring 2024, and then you work your way back. So experience for a resume goes in reverse chronological order. You take your most recent one first and work your way back. The other point is this is really the only area where you'd be using bullet points, as you can see. So what you want to do here is highlight your key accomplishments or responsibilities in this section. You don't have a lot of room to put a lot of information. We're trying to keep your resume also to one page. So if you can keep your bullet points down to 2 or 3 and just very briefly explain your project. If you work in a team, you want to indicate that as well. And then if you're doing this as part of a team, just highlight your piece of the project. What did you do? And highlight the technology you used and everything else that's going to, and hopefully this is an area that helps you really stand out as well. So, you know, I would say most students have at least a couple projects. You may have more. I think this is a section that you can, depending on what you're applying for, you can pick and choose the projects that are relevant to that. So it just kind of depends. Yes.
Is it like, so say for example, somebody's built a game, they're very proud of it, they did it really, can you link to it on this? Or, so, because I'm not seeing any links in this.
Yeah, we didn't. We did this like a couple of years ago. So yes, by all means, it'd be like, so like the other thing we don't have on here is a link to a portfolio or GitHub or anything like that. So and that often would go at the top of the page under your contact information, or you can list it separately with your project. So you can just put a link right to it, so anyone can see, as long as it looks really good.
You list Where would you list GitHub? I'm just kind of curious. Like, and where would you put?
I've seen it at the top of the page under your heading, your contact information.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, just link directly.
Just link directly to it that way. I've also seen it listed as part of the experience if you want to a direct link. So you have a couple options. So this is project experience. The other section would be work experience, geared to be employment or not. It can be volunteer work, anything like that. So as you can see in this example, this student is applying for a grant writing or grant associate position. So, and the student has experience that aligns with that, has been a grants associate with a mental health organization. So that is experience and paid experience more than likely. So the listing is a little bit different. You would put your job title, the company, the location, and then the dates of employment. If you're currently working, of course, you would put your start date to present. And the same idea with bullet points. You want to, again, highlight your key responsibilities, not every single thing you do in the job or in the project. And as you can see, there are a couple pretty good examples here. One is an actual job as a grant writer. The other is a volunteer activities coordinator, unpaid. Something I do want to bring up is, and I catch this a lot on resumes that I look at, be certain that you use the right verb tense. So if you are presently working on a project, make sure your verb tense is present tense. If it's past, if you are no longer doing that project, it should be past tense. I catch this a lot, and it may seem like not a big deal, but I will tell you there are probably hiring managers and people that will like pass on your resume if they see you haven't done that right. So very, very important point, something we really highlight. So that's one of the things we catch that I think a lot of students don't catch. So there you go. All right, so we have now project experience, work experience, or other experience. And then last but not least, section activities, extracurriculars. So this is your club. This is where you put game development club, member, or if you're a board member or whatever that is. Of course, SJSU. Put the month and the year you started. And this resume shows an example of somebody who is a member of a club. But I would add to this, if you are actively involved, you are not just attending meetings, but you have a role. You're helping plan events or build membership or whatever. I would add a bullet point to highlight that as well. And if you even are more involved than that, I might actually put a section under projects. If you want to highlight, you're doing so you're doing more. You're not just actually coming to meetings, but you're actually a part, yeah. Okay, so in this guide, we just help you, the writing accomplishment statements part is really hard for a lot of students. They really have no idea what to put under either the projects they're doing here or under employment. So we really give you some good examples of how to write those if you don't know. And it's something we guide students with. So we have a real good breakdown of how to put this together. We have a list of action verbs, and we do this because students have a tendency to repeat the same verb. You know, like maybe you might have 3 or 4 bullet points and they all start with developed this, something like that. We know there's probably a better way of wording it, so we can help you with that, and you can look at some of these action verbs to help you write that. So we give you that. Something else I want to mention is, so in our guide, we have a tool, we have a resource called VMOC that we've been using for about 3 or 4 years. And how this works is you can take whatever your resume looks like right now, and you can upload your resume to VMOC. You just use your SJSU ID and password, you upload your resume, and what VMOC does is it will highlight things like misspelled words, format issues, punctuation, grammar, all these kinds of things that you just may not see. And what's really nice about this is it really helps clean up your resume. And because you may not see it, you guys are working on your resume over and over, retooling it, editing it over and over and over again, and you just don't see it. And in a way, what's really nice about having something like this is it will highlight things you maybe just don't see. So it allows you to update your resume, and you get a score, which is not, a lot of students don't like that, but we tell you just like, don't worry, that has nothing to do, nobody sees that, no employers see that or anything like that. But it's a great tool. It's pretty popular. We have a lot of students that like to use it, so you're welcome to try it. Then we have a little section on applicant tracking software, applicant tracking systems. I still think there are a lot of students that really don't realize these are out there, but they are, and applicant tracking systems have been around for a long time. So that's why we have the format of resume that we have. And like it says here, a pretty high percentage of companies use applicant tracking software to scan resumes, and ideally scanning it for the qualifications. So that's why we really emphasize the importance of reading each job posting carefully and comparing your resume and seeing how closely you can fit the qualifications of that position to get to an interview. And this is, I'm not sure how accurate some of this information is, but we say use standard formatting, do your research. We recommend keeping it on one page. For most students, that's the case. If you're a graduate student, maybe you have some work experience, then it might go to 2 pages. But we know that this is going on, and it's worth having a good resume. So when, again, students apply for jobs or internships and they come to us and say, I've sent 100 applications out and I haven't heard anything, they don't think there's something wrong with the resume, but that's where I start. I start by looking at the resume and saying what's going on that maybe the student doesn't see. So I just wanted to mention that. We have, for those students that get a hold of us and want to go to grad school and need a CV, we talk about the difference between a CV and a standard resume. And really a CV is more for grad school, and you have a lot more detail in there than you would for an employer that's looking to hire you. Cover letters, I touch on these from time to time. We have a little information here. You guys have access to the guide and you can see this. So we have advice on how to write a cover letter if it's required. And really the only thing that we really recommend is if you have to write a cover letter, again, try to target the letter for the position and show how you fit the position. Do you want to try to convince the employer I would be a great match for these reasons, and that's what the letter gives you the opportunity to do. So all of you have access to this. The cover letter I actually like, I'm not really going to go into detail, is this one with this company called Green Living. This is a format that I really like, so I would recommend you guys take a look at this. And then looks like we touch on references a little bit. The one thing I will tell you is you don't put references on your resume anymore. There was a time when we used to do that. Our advice is have your references ready, but don't just automatically put them on your resume or anything unless you're asked for them. So it's something you want to submit if you are indeed interviewed and there's interest in potentially hiring you. So that's our guide. Couple other things I want to mention. before I open it up for questions is, so I want to highlight these digital tools that we have. I just mentioned VMOC, and we have some other ones, and Handshake, of course, that you can take a look at. And then what I also want to mention is, and you would need to come to the Career Center for this, but we have a career closet of professional dress. We have clothing that has been donated or purchased, professional clothing. We know a lot of students don't really have anything, or maybe not, or maybe the clothing they don't feel is appropriate for a job interview or a job. So you can contact us to make an appointment, and you can, we have fitting rooms and everything, and you can actually come to the Career Center, make an appointment, and try on some things and take an outfit with you. It's yours. And you are allowed one outfit per academic year. So we get very busy with that. So I just want to mention that because I think a lot of students don't know that we have that. And then the other thing is we also take professional headshots. So any of you who need a new LinkedIn photo or don't have one, we do that. And we actually have we have something called Iris. It's a photo booth. We just got it a few months ago, and it's actually pretty cool. And we are now doing drop-ins throughout the week, and you can, the whole process may take 5 to 10 minutes, and you can come in, sit down, the camera faces you, and you can just do it yourself. You can take a few shots, and then you get all of those in your email within a very short amount of time, and you can decide which one you want to use. So we expect we'll see a lot more students that'll want that as well. So with that, what else would you like me to talk about, or is there anything else, or I can also open it up for questions?
LinkedIn would be...
Do you want me to go to LinkedIn? Sure, I can do that. All right, so let's see here. Let me go. Ready? Follow the San Jose State University LinkedIn page. Follow it if you're not already. The reason being, there's all kinds of content, events. I mean, there's so much going on in this university that we can't even keep track of. So it's just a way of seeing different feeds, and you might see something of interest that you were just not aware of. And I know when I look at it, sometimes I hear about a conference or an opportunity that I just wasn't even aware of. So recommend you do that. And then the way I do this, my strategy, so if you're looking for internships and jobs, and you're using the job boards and like everybody else, and you're sending all these applications and you're not getting a lot of response, then the other strategy I have is to look for alumni with your degree. So what I do is I go to alumni, and as you can see, the number for today is 269,000 alumni have profiles in here, which is a lot. So what I usually do is I will look up your major. So I can look up anything. So pick one.
Software engineer.
Software engineer?
Yeah. I just pulled that one out of the hat. I don't know if that's relevant to anybody here.
Let's do it. Fair enough. All right. So whatever it is, I start there, and then what I do is I filter by date, and I don't need to look at everybody who ever graduated with software engineering, so I might use a date range of 2020 up, and we're barely in 2024, so maybe I'll just, okay. So right now I have a number of 3,900, which is a lot. So the next thing that I actually do is I look at these graphs that you see here, and some of this information I don't really care about, but what I do is I first of all will look at what they studied to really trim this down, to really filter this down. So I have computer software, computer science, every possible engineering thing. So let's say, I mean, again, I'm just gonna pick one. It doesn't really matter. So I would say I can just go to, so I see anything interesting here. Interesting. And again, you put your own, you enter your profile. So whatever however you enter it is what, is showing up here. So let's say I just enter, I'll just grab IT. That should be about 200. It says 255, here's 256. That's a little more manageable a number for me. Then what I do is a couple things. Number one, I look at what they do. So a pretty high percentage are in engineering, which would make sense. And then I see others, 20 have something to do with education, there's IT and so on. So if I just go to engineering, for example, those profiles should show up. So that's the number. So at this point, I'm gonna start just looking at profiles. So here you go. So now I'm gonna start looking at, oh, perfect, okay. So I'm gonna look at, can I see not everybody, okay, I can't, is this gonna allow me to see this guy's profile? If it says LinkedIn member, for some reason, I cannot look at that. It has to have their name on it for some reason. So let's say, all right, let me look at this profile right here. Okay, so Swaroop is a software development engineer at Amazon, AWS, and this is also how I talk about how to put together a profile. So what I see, at least the way I can view it, is this: there's no banner back here, and you can put a banner, and I highly recommend it because it makes your profile really stand out. So I don't see one. He does have a headshot, so here he is. Then name, he is employed, so normally when you're employed, you would have your job title and company and your headline. If you're a student, it would probably have your student status. And then the next section I look at, which is important to have, is this about section. I see some students skip this part, but this is an important section. This is content that is not on your resume. It gives you a chance to kind of talk about yourself and talk about your background, your education, your skills, and your goals. So if you have a few directions you want to go in and you want people to see that, this is a great place for it. So then what I do is I want to scroll down and learn a bit about him. So according to this, he has been with Amazon Web Services since September of 22, and he is a software engineer. And so I'm assuming this is current, unless, a lot of people are on LinkedIn and don't update their profile, but that's what I would see. And then I see that he did his internship at Cohesity back in 22, and so I can learn more about his work experience. And then I always look at education just to see, so he got his master's in computer software engineering here in 22, and then his bachelor's in India in 2020. And then I see some projects here, things like that, maybe other courses that he took, people he's following. So what I really like about this is I like to look at a few profiles to give you guys ideas of how to update yours. And really the beauty of LinkedIn is you can look at your network, look at your connections, and see what their profiles look like. And generally speaking, you might actually see content that you want to put on your profile that you hadn't thought of. You go, wow, that's great. That's exactly what I need to put on my profile. So I want to pull up. Okay, here we go. So here's this grad with a background. So as you can see, again, the banner really does make a difference. And you can change this. You can edit, update your LinkedIn profile. So again, background banner, photo, name, software engineer at Meta, and then her about section, a little bit different. She has the skills at the top listed first, and then job description, and just a little bit about her background, her skills. So again, this section here can really be anything, but this is a chance for you to really have your voice and really talk about yourself and what you would like to do as well. And then I'm going to scroll down and I just want to see, so she's been at Meta since June of 22, and then I get to see her work history. And she was a software developer in India for this health company, and then a consultant. And so in addition to just looking at the profiles themselves, what you can also do is see where people are working. And I've already looked at 2 pretty well-known companies, but let's say you see a company, an employer that you've never heard of, and that might be right in line with a company you would love to work for. And I see, a lot of these people are working. All right, I'm just gonna, oh no, I can't see hers. So what I at least can see here, there's quite a range of companies. Here's Google, and again, these profiles are as accurate, as they are. So if I look at, all right, so I'll just pull up like somebody else here. So here's this graduate software development engineer at Amazon. No banner that I can see. Same idea, you probably are seeing sort of a pattern of what profiles look like. And the first 2 about sections were not as long. This one is pretty lengthy. And I don't know how many people look at this, to be honest with you, how many really read this. And he's employed, apparently. And so this about section, it really does give you a chance to talk about yourself, your goals, and then I look at and see a little bit about his work history, his current job, internship, worked for Infosys before. And what I really use this for is I look at companies that I might not be aware of where alumni are working. And the beauty of LinkedIn is if you see a company that somebody is working for and you would like to work there, or you see they're in a role that you would like to have or that really interests you, you can reach out and connect with them. And I recommend it. So if I didn't know this person, I would add a note. I would not just automatically try to connect. By adding it, if you write a note, you're going to get more buy-in. Whoever reads it is going to probably be more inclined to connect with you. And so all you really want to do here is you can say, I'm a software engineering student at San Jose State. I found your profile. I am actively connecting with alumni. I'm actively reaching out to different alumni as I look for internships or a job. And you can say something like, I would like to connect with you, number 1. If you have any advice, I'm open to any advice. Pretty general. The thing I want to point out is you're not asking them for a job, which I'm sure happens, but that's not the point of LinkedIn. But when you put it in this way, I'm reaching out, I'm looking for work, I'm interested in what you do in your company, and let's connect. And it might be as simple as that. Then you send it and hope you hear back. And the only thing about LinkedIn is how active people are on it. So there are people on LinkedIn all the time. And I know I reach out to alumni and sometimes I hear back from somebody right away. It really surprises me. Other times I may not hear back at all, or it might be a couple weeks. So the only thing about LinkedIn is how active people are. But if you don't reach out in the first place, you'll never know. So that's why I really recommend doing something like this. Yeah. All right, so are we good? So are there any questions or thoughts or anything?
I guess for the resume, if you have a lot of projects and you think they all equally good, how should you, which one should you include and which one, you don't want to fill it 2-page, right?
So I would think about the job you're applying for specifically, and which projects do you want to highlight?
What if it's
all of
depend
them?
on the company?
So I think there are ways of doing this. You know, if you have to go to 2 pages, but the other thing is, again, if you have a GitHub or a link to your projects, I might try to summarize them somehow on your resume and somehow get the employer to go there to learn more. And they're going to go to LinkedIn. So the other thing is LinkedIn would have a lot of the detail that you don't have on your resume as well. But, you know, our advice in the Career Center is look at the position you're applying for and what do you really want to highlight that aligns with that. And because, yeah, you're right. I know I see students that have a lot of projects, but you may not need every one of them on there. So I think in a way this is why I think LinkedIn is good to have, because you can put all of them on LinkedIn, but you're probably not going to get all of them on your resume. So that's probably what I would do.
I have a question. It's kind of curious. It's more curiosity than anything. If they're going to be scanned, why the one-page limit? You know what I'm saying? Because the computer is going to read it all.
Yeah, I mean, we know that students don't have a lot of experience, so it should be 1 page. I mean, they don't have a lot of work experience, and you're really just hitting the high points.
Yeah.
For a graduate student, a master's student, many of them do have a few years of experience, then we might go to 2 pages. So the point is we can make it 1. We can make it 1 page. It really, again, depends on what you're looking for. You've got a good point there about it's scanned. So what difference does it make?
Looks like it's considered looked at.
Yeah. And we see most employers want 1 page. They, you know.
If they're going to actually look at it.
Yeah. And, but yeah, I think even if it's being scanned, you want to try to get to the point as quickly as possible or as succinctly as possible on your resume. And remember, you can go to LinkedIn for more. So.
I have another question. I've got a bunch of them. Somebody else wants that. So, like with the use of like large language models, do you see any downside to scanning your resume, scanning the job posting, and having the large language model write the cover letter, or at least draft it?
We're just kind of beginning to see that a little bit here. What I'm wondering is if the scanner picks it up or the employer can pick up that it's, so we're talking about AI, or getting there, because that's what we're hitting up now. We have students asking us about that. But again,
people saying that they're using it and they're getting more hits because the LLM is able to talk to the other applicant tracking system more effectively.
So if they're getting more hits, so what are they getting interviewed?
That's a good question.
So that's the question.
And are they getting hired?
And are they getting hired? I mean, so that's really the bottom line. Is so they may be getting more hits, but are they actually getting interviewed?
And I have one more question, which is like you mentioned the application or applicant tracking system. Do you know of any application tracking systems that somebody who's going to be going to have to be dealing with like a lot of applications? Most of the people that I know end up tracking them in spreadsheets, but it seems like there ought to be software for that.
So you mean as far as when they're applying
so
for?
I'm putting in applications,
yeah.
So I want to track who I've talked to and maybe even like the cover letters or whatever that I've sent back to them.
Yeah. So, I mean, whatever works for you. I mean, that's pretty much what we recommend. Whatever works for you in organizing that. So if you've applied for 100 jobs and, record them, track them, and maybe you even go back to those companies at some point and see if they're hiring. And maybe they're not hiring, but track all of that, so, which you should anyway. And, but go back, especially companies you're particularly interested in. That's one of the things that when I hear students applying for a lot of jobs, I'm thinking, are you like going back and kind of taking a look back at the beginning and revisiting some of these, companies that you applied to before? The other thing is, you can do all that. The other thing is networking. So I don't care what the company is you want to apply to, how can we find people that work there? So do you already know somebody that works there? If you don't, I'd be looking at LinkedIn, and there might be pretty good odds there'd be at least one person who went to SJSU who's working there. And, pretty good, and that's where this exercise comes in, yeah. Good. All right.
Anyone else have any questions?
Any other questions as you guys get ready to? Yes, I saw your hand up.
One question is, like if I have privilege like something like DoorDash, Uber, and maybe some jobs that have no pay, and it's in the past years, the longer do I need to put on my resume?
So you're talking about other employment that you've had?
Yeah, a long time ago, and most of them just minor jobs, like Uber.
Okay, so that's really a good question because that gets asked a lot. There are students who do not want to put past employment on their resume, mostly because it has nothing to do with what they're looking for now. But it is worth putting it on there because it's about your transferable, like, people skills. So depending on how long you had the job and how recent it is. So like if I see a student who had a job for maybe 3 months, I don't know if I'd put it on a resume. It's pretty short. But if you've been working at least 6 months or more, so I actually kind of have a story about this. So I have a friend, an alum, who got his degree in computer science. Now it's probably about 7 or 8 years ago. And he worked at Starbucks, like so many students do. He worked at Starbucks for a couple of years and was a barista, and he did not want to put it on his resume, but he got kind of talked into it. So he put it on his resume, and his goal was to work for Google. At that time, again, this is like 7 or 8 years ago, really, Google was it, was the only company he wanted to work for. So he applied more than once, 3-4 times before finally getting an interview. He just kept at it and finally did get an interview and ultimately got hired. But the story that he told was that he had he put Starbucks on his resume and was a barista there, and the interviewer, the hiring manager, I'm not really sure who it was, pointed that out and said, "I see you worked at Starbucks," and he said, "Yeah," and the hiring manager said, he said, "I'm really glad you put this on your resume because to work at Starbucks and be a barista there, you have to be able to handle anything, meaning crazy customers, stress, very busy, you're talking angry customers, frustrated, everybody who wants coffee, and for that particular hiring employer, that he was impressed. He said, if you can do that, if you can work in that environment, you can probably handle anything, and he got the job. So he didn't even think that would be, so I'm thinking if you're driving for Uber or whatever it is, I would still put on your resume because you have dealt with the public, you have those skills, you have those people skills that you need no matter where you go. It may have nothing to do with your goal, but those skills are so important. And evidently employers really appreciate knowing that as well. And that could be the kind of thing that makes you stand out in an interview. So that's what happened for this student. So.
And how about like I have a video editor job which has no pay, and then the employee is kind of lost on that after the project. Should I put it on it?
I would put it on there.
Okay.
I would. Again, if it's not paid, it doesn't matter. You should still put it on there. And again, anything ideally that is connected with what you want to do. So that's really the bottom line, yeah. All right, any other questions? Hi, everybody.
I guess we can wrap it up because it's a good meeting soon, but thank you so much for coming.
You're welcome. My pleasure.
We record the workshop, so if anyone want to watch it, we're gonna post it on YouTube, and again, we'll see. Thank you so much.
And you can put my email on there too. Thanks, everyone. One all right? Think? Yeah. Let me see it too.
Yeah.
Share it with me when you're ready too. I want to see it.
Oh, the YouTube? You want me to Gmail you now? Oh, yeah.
I want to see it too. Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
We just edit like the beginning because we record like
Yeah.
Then everything should be good.
The beginning and probably the end, I suppose, right? To keep all the questions up there too, or
Is there anything else you want us to do, or?
Get a hold of me if you have any questions.
Yeah, all right. Yeah, thank you so much. All right.
You're welcome.
Yeah,
All right.
thank you.
Nice
Thank
meeting you.
Judith.
Yeah, and we'll be talking.
It was black screen, so I
No, I was following along the slides for what you said something.
I watched like the first 10 minutes and I just went,
Well, you're facing it.
yeah,
Like,
yeah.
it feels like there's like there's an opportunity for maybe aggressively software
I knew it's gonna be GDC stuff, which told them if they want to buy their own, they can make like discounts.
Did you put up
the workday.
It's fine. I was fucking tired.
No, I get it. Same.
I literally was sleeping at that.
Hey everyone! Can I have your attention to the front, please? Attention, thank you. So, we're gonna have a couple of announcements. So, we have already chosen our members to go to GDC. So if you haven't gotten an email or message, I am so sorry. You did not get chosen. However, we do have a special prize for you guys. For those that didn't get chosen, we actually have a promo code that you guys can use to go to GDC. So because we're going on a Friday Expo Pass, which is normally $129, but if you use the 10% discount, it's a 10% off of $129. I can't do the math right now. But if you guys can do the math here, you're basically saving 10% off your ticket. So feel free to take a picture of the promo code, which is 10 off FOE GDC, and you'll be able to apply it into your cart, and you'll be able to go GDC with us. That's spoilers. Oh, I did not. Okay, well, ignore that. That was for next week. But yeah, today is just a work day. Today's just a work day, so feel free to get into your tables, which you guys are already doing, and just work on your game. Just a reminder that we do